Welcome to Stock Talk here on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed, please do hit that button. We do these deep dives pretty regularly. Today, we're unpacking something really exciting, definitely high stakes. We're looking at Nektar Therapeutics, NKTR, and we're drawing directly from Stock Telescope's forecast on the stock.
Yeah, and look, before we jump in, it's really, really important we say this up front. This is all just for informational, educational purposes, okay? Definitely not investment advice, not in any way, shape, or form. We're just exploring the information here.
Exactly. Our goal today is really just to unpack the investment thesis around Nektar, especially because there was some, well, pretty big news recently that really moved the needle. So what's it all mean for Nektar and, for you learning about this cutting-edge biotech stuff? Okay, let's get into it. So here's where it gets really interesting. June 24th, 2025 just happened. Nektar announced this breakthrough for their drug, rezpegaldesleukin. Bit of a mouthful.
Rezpegaldesleukin, yeah.
Yeah, for atopic dermatitis. This was the phase 2B study, REZOLVE-AD. Right. And they hit their primary endpoints. Showed a pretty impressive 61% EASI improvement and a 42% EASI 75 response rate. Now, EASI, that's the standard measure for eczema severity, right?
Right, eczema area and severity index. And EASI 75 means a 75% improvement. Those are significant numbers in these trials, really significant.
And the stock, the immediate reaction, it just exploded, up 156% that day. Just wow.
Yeah, quite a reaction. And what's really fascinating, I think, is what this means. It's validation for their regulatory T-cell mechanism, their T-Reg mechanism. It's first in class.
T-Regs, those are the immune cells that kind of regulate things, keep the system in check.
Exactly. They regulate the immune response. So in conditions like atopic dermatitis, your immune system's kind of overactive.
Yeah.
Nektar's drug aims to bring it back into balance, restore what they call immune homeostasis.
So it's not just blocking inflammation pathways like some other drugs.
Precisely. Or like, some JK inhibitors that carry those serious black box warnings. Nektar is aiming for something more foundational, and it's novel enough that the FDA actually gave them Fast Track designation for this back in February 2025.
Okay. Fast Track first-in-class mechanism. So if this is really that different, what's the market look like? Atopic dermatitis? That's a huge area.
That's so.
I saw projections like almost $30 billion globally by 2030.
It's massive. And there really is a big unmet need. People want therapies that do more than just manage symptoms. They want something that addresses the underlying immune problem.
Without maybe the side effects or limitations of current stuff?
Right. So Nektar's approach, aiming for that rebalancing act, it could potentially be a much better long-term solution. That's the hope.
Okay, so connecting the dots. Huge market, novel approach. But the investment thesis, you said it's still high risk, high reward.
Definitely. Stock Telescope has it as a speculative buy.
Speculative buy.
Yeah, with a 12-month target somewhere in the $35 to $50 range.
Okay, so speculative buy. That signals potential, but also is catches. What are the big hurdles? The sources mentioned worries about depending too much on this one drug, single asset dependency, and also cash. Limited cash runway, only through Q4 2026.
That's the crux of the risk, absolutely. A speculative buy says this could be big, but...
Yeah.
And that cash runway, through Q4 2026, it definitely raises the big question. How are they going to fund phase 3? Those trials are incredibly expensive.
Right.
However, the source also points out some potential counterbalances, mitigating factors. Nektar isn't just about atopic dermatitis. They do have a pipeline.
Okay.
There's potential in alopecia areata, for example, another big area where this T-Reg approach might work. They expect phase 2B results for that in Q4 2025.
Okay, so more news potentially coming this year.
Exactly, and even type 1 diabetes is mentioned. Plus, the possibility of strategic partnerships. All these things could be catalysts, bring in cash, diversify the risk a bit.
Got it. So potential diversification, more data points coming, but still that funding hurdle for the main event. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit. The breakthrough data, this unique T-Reg mechanism, the huge market, but also the clear risks and that speculative buy thesis.
And just to reiterate one last time, this analysis, it's really giving you the picture based on the sources, the potential, and the risks. But it's just information. Clinical stage biotech, especially anything labeled speculative, it carries very substantial risk. You could lose a lot of capital.
Absolutely. So thinking about all this, what really stands out to you about Nektar's approach? And how do you personally weigh that potential, paradigm shift in treatment against those classic biotech development hurdles and financial risks? Is this kind of approach the future for these immune diseases, or is it just another hopeful shot, something to think about as you watch this space?